morning. Welcome to worship at Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Mark Tuning. I go by he, him, his pronouns. And we always begin our worship with singing. So we invite you to sing. Here we have gathered. If you have the gray book, it's number 360. The words will be on your screen. Here we have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate days of our lifetime, matters small and great. We of all ages living out our span, infants and sages sharing what we can. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us. As we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
Good morning, and welcome to the Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the Reverend Leslie Takahashi, and my pronouns are she and her. We are a community grounded in values passed on by us, especially today, those teachings which I mentioned before. If you are visiting and want to learn a little bit more about who we are and what we believe and what we do together, please visit our website and explore it at www.mduuc.org, where you can also sign a virtual visitor's card, and thank you to those who have done that in recent weeks. If you're interested in learning more, you can also sign up for our Getting to Know UU class, which will be held this month on November 21st. So we look forward to further conversation with you. Please also come to our coffee hour so we can say hello to you. We are an engaged community, and there's been a lot going on. We want to just start by saying thank you to all of you who participated and made happen our first virtual Bid for Love auction event, which began as a silent auction and also as the Borton Hall Marketplace on Friday. The marketplace will be continuing today, but we had an amazing event last night with people being willing to try on new, not completely flawless technology. And we also thank you for your forgiveness and your patience as we worked through a few things. We are continuing to take silent bids, and we also will have the marketplace today from 1 to 3, and again on Friday this week. So we hope you will continue to participate as we continue to support this beloved community. We have also today our Living Traditions class, which will be today at 2 p.m. on Zoom, and you can find that link on our calendar if it has not been sent to you already, or you can register and it will be sent to you. Caring and connection are very vital during this time, as we learned throughout this week. So please contact me or our intern minister, Miranda Lennox, if you are in need of a listening ear. We also have financial support available for those who are struggling in these times, and asking is a gift you give to our community. Do not hesitate to contact us. And today, welcome. We are glad that we are together for this service.
Good morning. I'm Steve Hirsch, and I'm privileged to serve as your board president. I use the pronouns he, him, and his. Good morning to all. We like to begin our service by reading together our church mission, which you'll see on your screen. Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church is a welcoming religious community. We bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith, bridge the divisions that wound the human family, transform ourselves and our world. Our MDUUC community is such a blessing in these challenging times. We're fortunate to have virtual ways to stay connected and to stay safe. Our campus is now open, though our buildings are not. We continue to follow necessary restrictions of people and groups on campus for everyone's safety. Come by, visit the campus, stroll the labyrinth, and leave an encouraging message for your friends on the chalkboard. These days can be hard, so remember, if you need help or are feeling isolated, please let one of our ministers know. And speaking of staying connected, please join us for virtual coffee and connection after today's service. The Zoom link to join can be found on the MDUUC website homepage. We'd love to see you there. I have 3 additional matters to bring to your attention. On Sunday, November 22nd at 12:30 p.m., we'll be holding a congregational forum. We'll be covering 2 important matters: one, financial, and proposed revisions to our covenant of right relations. Forums provide opportunity to learn, ask questions, and provide feedback. We plan to bring both topics forward for member vote and approval at our January congregational meeting. We look forward to your joining the forum. We also continue to engage in creative fundraising. You can buy MDUUC buffs as well as chairs and sanitizers. See the Give page on our website. And finally, last night we gathered virtually for our biggest fundraising event of the year, Bid for Love 2020. I want to thank all members who put items up for bid, all the members who attended, and to those members who were winning bidders. Special big thanks to the amazing leadership team who pulled together this auction and event. Peter Morris, Peggy Kroll, Gloria Wiley, Nancy Rivara, Katie Wills, Kathy Vale, and Sally Edgerton all deserve thanks and congratulations. And the online silent auction is underway and will continue through November 16th. You can also come in person with all precautions in place today from 1:30 p.m. and next Friday and Sunday to take part in the auction. Welcome, MDUUC members and friends. It's good to be together.
This was a very long week, and through it all, we continued to gather as we could. We let our values be known and protected the democratic process that is so important to us in our tradition. And we also continued to come together in lots of different ways to make sure we can all participate in supporting our own beloved community that is so sustaining in these times. We are so grateful for the ways that we can gather, even though we look forward to the days when we will gather in other ways. These have become nurturing and sustaining in themselves. And for all of this, we are deeply, deeply grateful.
We invite you to sing the invocation, Be Ours a Religion. The words will appear on your screen. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love.
Hi, my name is Sam, and my pronouns are she, her. Today, I wanted to remind everyone with some beautiful celestite crystal, which is supposed to connect us to the divine. I want to remind everyone in this difficult time to not only connect with the divine and remember the divine, but remember the divine in yourself. We are all part of the divine. And the candle I will be lighting today is called Sanctify. So in this difficult time, let us all remember our sacred nature and the sacred nature of everything around us, everything within and without, and our compassion for all humankind. And with that, I hope you have a beautiful service and a beautiful rest of your day.
Good morning. I'm intern minister Miranda Lennox, and I use gender-neutral pronouns like they and them. What's the first image that comes to mind when you picture a tree? If you asked me to draw a tree right now, I'd probably draw either a very simple maple-like tree or perhaps a snowy pine. Trees are a reality of our world. We live alongside them, and the majority of us rarely give them much more thought than that. But like many things which might blend into the backdrop of our world, however, trees get more and more fascinating when you start giving them a closer look. I've heard a myriad of tree facts in my life, ranging from botany to ecology and preservation, to a more recent theory that trees are active communicators which speak with one another through a network language of chemicals and fungi. Trees are also highly present in art and poetry. They inspire much metaphorical beauty as their relationship to the cycling seasons provides contemplation of the cycles in our own lives. Many cultures and religions have seen trees as sacred. To be sure, I have felt an undeniably mystical type of awe when sitting in the palatial redwood groves at Muir Woods, and a timeless enchantment from lying under the blooming cherry trees in Central Park as they spill flurries of white and pink petals into the air. In Unitarian Universalism, many of our tree metaphors focus on the roots. The first song I ever learned from our hymnody, Spirit of Life, asks, "Roots hold me close, wings set me free." And the late beloved Alondria Williams taught us, "Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree." I believe we focus on the idea of rootedness because it takes courage to participate in a living and free faith the way that we do. It takes courage to show up and know that we will be changed in unknowable ways by our connection with this community. And of course, it takes courage to stand for justice and equity in a country which sometimes feels steeped in hate and apathy. Like trees, we must root ourselves deep so we're not torn up by the storm. And like trees, we must know how to bend without breaking. Rootedness goes two ways, however. When I was skimming some simple tree facts for inspiration, I was reminded of another vital quality of trees. They prevent erosion. Trees literally hold our earth together. Through harboring billions of individual ecosystems, cleaning the air and anchoring the land in place, trees shape our world and make it a livable habitat for creatures like us. But what a beautiful idea that through this connection of roots in the earth, the tree is in perfect balance. It is held securely by the earth and it embraces the earth in return. I wonder if we could learn to practice this quality of rootedness. When we tap down and in to receive our courage, could that connection also give support? Could we, spiritually, hold the world together with the same actions which empower ourselves? In the spirit of togetherness in our uniqueness, in the spirit of giving and receiving, with the strength of our rootedness and the wisdom to bend in the wind, let us worship together.
We invite you to sing our opening hymn out of the Gray Book, number 1. If you have that, the words will be on your screen. Let nothing evil cross this door. May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This heart, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Here we are in November, almost at the point where fall turns into winter. And what we know is that we are doing a lot of sitting. Sitting for school, sitting for activities, sitting to see what happens with stuff around our nation. So I thought you might want to move a little bit with me. If standing isn't your thing, you can do all of this sitting as well, but we'll still be moving. I will tell you how. Last week we shared a chant that people use to help keep a sense of hope when things seem kinda hard. The first line goes this way: solid as a rock, rooted as a tree. So I want to show you 2 ways you can remember this, not using words or your mind, which might be a little tired this week. Nope. This is how you can remember this using your muscle memory in your body. First, solid as a rock. A mountain is a very large rock, so I'm going to show you what in some yogic traditions is known as mountain pose, Tadasana. You stand with your feet parallel and your arms by your side, as if you were a big old mountain just hanging out. You want to stand very strong, because you are a mountain, so you balance your weight on both your feet and also between the balls and the heels of your feet, between the inner and outer edges of your feet. You can lift your shoulders up and move them down your back, because some of us might be storing a little tension in our shoulders this week. And you can place your hands at your side and look right out like a big mountain, solid and steady, looking at all that is around. You can also do this without standing by placing your feet on the floor or in a chair and spreading your toes and balancing your weight between the inner and outer edges, the fronts and the backs. You can place your hands palms up on your thighs as well. Oh yeah, and don't forget, move those shoulders up and down your back. Let go of that tension. Okay, so now let's go to rooted as a tree. This is what we're talking about today. It's a little harder to show you in a yoga way. I'm going to do it, and I'm not even going to try to do it in a great form. I just want you to see. Maybe try it with me. Come on, join in. Do I look a bit like a tree? Nah. Well, oh well. If you are wobbly like me, maybe you can do this seated on a chair. And just bring one leg up and then make your trunk tall as you can be, as if your branches are reaching for the sky. Your roots, your feet, can also connect you to the ground, to the earth. We do have strong roots. Our roots are very strong. They include all the people who came before us and worked very hard so we could have all the good parts of the world we have now. They believed that those parts were possible even when they might not have seemed so in the moment. Those folks who came before us, they kept rooting down into the ground even when things seemed pretty grim or disappointing or heartbreaking. This is a tree friend of mine, a redwood. There used to be 2 redwoods of this size in my backyard. These drought years have been hard on them. One died, and so we cut down the trunk. Guess what, though? They were rooted as a tree, and this little one grew right back up from the roots, still connected to the other one. One day, this new one will be the one who provides the shade. That is what it means to be rooted as a tree. Today, I hope you will find a way to be in your body as well as your mind. I hope you will remember that you are solid as a rock, that you are rooted as a tree. I hope you will remember, no matter what happens in any given day, that you are connected and loved.
As you leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which you learn light your heart till you return.
Each week, we take into the loving heart of this community those joys and sorrows that are too great to hold alone. And I am asking Reverend Rodney to light the first candle to hold all of the joy and sorrow we have tried to wrestle through for this week, which has been one of waiting, anticipation, and a great deal of care, both joy and sorrow this week. We are also lighting a candle this morning for Flo Garay, who was briefly a member of this congregation before relocating to be closer to family. We are particularly holding in our hearts today Flo's friend, Joan Armstrong, a beloved member of our congregation, who also was a friend of Flo's for many years. We are lighting a candle of sorrow today, and our hearts are with Don Mayo, who lost his son this last week. Please hold Don and his family in our hearts, and please reach out to Don if you know him and if you can offer support. We are also lighting a candle today, sending love and care to Jean Geyer and her daughter Jan, who remain in our hearts. We will be collecting cards again this week and delivering them in the middle of the week, so please bring them by the campus, through the mail slot, in the SCAF building, or bring them to Maria Rieger's porch in Rossmore, as we will collect them there as well. We are thinking of Steve and Nancy Falk this morning. Tonight they will attend a memorial service for a childhood friend of Steve's. Miranda Lennox is asking us to light a candle of concern for their father-in-law, Delmar, who is having a cardiac procedure on Tuesday. Please keep the Lennox Stewart family in your prayers this week. I am asking Rodney to light a candle of sorrow for me today in honor of my longtime friend, the Reverend Chester McCall, who is in intensive care in the San Mateo General Hospital. Chester has been a guest in our pulpit and is a dearly beloved colleague and teacher and mentor of mine. Rodney Lemery is asking for thoughts and healing prayer for his father, who is struggling with respiratory illness as a result of the COVID virus. We are thinking of Rodney and his father and family today. And finally, I ask that we light a candle today in honor of, actually 2 candles today, one in honor of our remarkable administrator, Jen Marsh, who kept us working through our auction, our Bid for Love virtual auction, and who did so much work for that. Jen will be out of the office for a few weeks starting today, because about an hour and a half ago, her grandchild was born. No calls, texts, or emails. If you send cards to the office, we will make sure that Jen gets them, and let us send best wishes to this new life in this particular day. I ask Rodney to light 2 final candles. One holds those joys and sorrows that remain unexpressed, but which also are within the sanctuary of our hearts. And a final candle for our one precious, precious world, which is so endangered and yet so important to all of us. Thank you.
Please join me in singing How Could Anyone? You'll find the words on your screen. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything
It would be hard on this particular week to find the words to describe the amount of joy and sorrow that we have experienced, the amount of anxiety and agitation and hope and relief all mixed in one. So we offer you today this visual meditation prepared for us by Liam Takahashi as a way of just holding together what we have journeyed through this week and our gratitudes and our sorrows in its midst.
May our roots continue to hold and bind us together in love and mutual respect. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we cry. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Good morning. My name is Ron Anand, and I serve on your board of trustees, and my pronouns are he and him. Well, today is the big day after, and I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about our fundraiser, the Bid for Love. Normally we would say, wow, we had a great day yesterday, and here's how much we took in, but since this is pre-recorded, I can't do that. So hopefully maybe somebody will have something to report or will report it later. But what I can say is to all of you who donated items or services, to all of you who came to campus and set up tables, for all of you who came to campus to bid on items, who set up the Zoom call, who participated in the Zoom call, to all of you who participated in any way, shape, or form with our fundraiser, Bid for Love, thank you. And can we just all take a collective breath of gratitude for everyone who was involved? Let's do that now together. Ready? You know, it's through the dedication of the friends and members of MDUUC that we can sustain our community with our time, talent, and treasure in our culture of stewardship. If you want to make a pledge donation or another donation, you can use the Give Now button on our website, or you can write out a check and mail it to us, either now or later. Thank you so much for your support. And now let us dedicate our offering together as we say, to the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
Okay, week. You have been exhausting and frustrating and joyful.
And you have been annoying and heartbreaking.
You have been scary.
Very frightening and very long.
And within this time, I have felt the whole gamut of emotions.
I have been afraid, though now I am feeling a little bit more hopeful, possibly an anticipation of what might be.
I have been hoping for change, for less hate, for less falsehood.
And now, while I feel better, I also harbor a great sadness that roughly 50% of this voting population, overwhelmingly white folks, by the way, accept the past 4 years of hate. And yet, here we are, held in this time, in this place, by our deep roots.
Here we are in this moment that has both possibility and sorrow, rooted in our belief in the possibility of redemption in every life and time. Here we are in the shadow of the words of our religious ancestor Theodore Parker, who said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve or complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience, and from what I see, I'm sure it bends towards justice."
From where we are sitting, we cannot see that curve, and yet I believe we have faith that it is still there.
We are particularly today holding those who are still afraid.
Afraid that hard-fought rights that some are newly acquired, might be taken away.
Afraid that they, like so many dreamers of a better and fairer world in the past, will not live to see the full results of that for which they struggle.
And yet we are also reminded that we are rooted in the belief that we are far better together than alone, that we are bound together in a deep interconnectedness, that we need one another. Our faith movement relinquished creeds many years ago and instead chose to embrace covenants. These are religious agreements on how we promise to be together.
Some would claim that our own country's constitution is a covenant, and if that is true, we are now collectively recognizing that it doesn't include all of those who call our lands home now.
By their nature, covenants are mutual agreements, and while the founders of this country attempted to build a foundation on covenant, the foundation remains unstable, and our collective home seems to sway on top of the gravel of racism, sexism, heterosexism, ableism, all those fears of the other that keep many of us occupied, many others willing to relinquish their fear into unchecked power.
Perhaps this time will call us into a new covenant with one another, a new set of promises we can make. Covenants require the hard work of deep listening and productive conversations, and they also require compromise and agreement.
Perhaps this was the original sin of our founders of this country, the sin that they didn't see everyone fully human, fully worthy of dignity. Thus, indigenous people, black people, women, poor, and queer folk weren't asked to contribute to the covenant.
Perhaps we can start to build this new covenant by recommitting to learning deep listening skills and re-examining our own commitments, by allowing ourselves to participate in healing journeys, even if we don't know the exact paths we will travel.
Sowing increased hope and love in our congregations and our communities.
Reaching out across the breach.
I know that there are many family members and friends who I deeply want to come back into covenant with. I miss them. And while their support of the regime of this past 4 years is in fact indicative of their ease of devaluing my own personhood and the people who I love for their own prosperity, I ultimately believe in the higher ideals of reconciliation and redemption.
In fact, our roots of covenant in this faith underscore that reconciliation and redemption happen only through the difficult work of relationship, communication, and understanding.
In these next many days, we pray that we as a congregation and as a family, as a nation really, that we come to recognize that if we have any hope in repairing the breaches of the past 4 years, we will need to reimagine this American constitutional covenant. Perhaps it starts by listening. Perhaps it starts with healing in our local spaces, in our personal spaces,
and in our congregation. Only then may we recognize these words of activist and women's suffragist Susan B. Anthony, who said, "It was we, the people, not we, the white male citizens, nor yet we, the male citizens, but we, the whole people who formed this union. And we formed it not to give the blessings of liberty, but to secure them, not to the half of ourselves and the half of our posterity, but to the whole people."
Perhaps, just maybe, we could begin that hard work right here and right now.
Or maybe in a couple of days, because it has been a week.
Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Solid as a rock, rooted as a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place. Solid as a rock, rooted like a tree. I am here, standing strong in my rightful place.
I want to begin by thanking all of the contributors to this service. It is so wonderful to see the faces of our beloved people. And I want to also say it's been a great gift today to have Julie Homey with us on the piano. It's just lovely when Julie is with us, so we're grateful for that. And I want to say good morning again, friends. When my beloved colleague, Reverend Rodney Lemery, and I were planning these two services, we wanted them to bookend what we knew was going to be a long and difficult and uncertain week, and which we did not know, even as we constructed much of the service, what the end result would be. We are glad to stand beside you, up in front of you today, knowing that we are on a path of some hope. And yet, we know what a long, strange, mind-numbing, heartbreaking, hopeful, exhausting, difficult, uncertain time this has been and has been for more than 5 years. A collective holding of the breath has been going on, so I would invite us in a very COVID-safe way to exhale. For many hard days, we have survived additional injury to our souls by trying to live in the moment. So on this day, with some relief, let us live in this moment too, a moment when we can all breathe a little bit more freely. And let us be grateful for the narrow, agonizingly slow to birth new path before us, which from my perspective has never been about candidates, but rather about ending the state of bully nation and removing an incarnation of hate that has put so many in bodily harm and even more in spiritual trauma. Let us be grateful to those and honor those who worked so hard to make sure this happened, who did postcard writing and phone banking and leadership and poll monitoring and vote counting, and who ran for public office for the first time, who voted for the first time, who voted for the umpteenth time, even though it was harder, who kept encouraging all around them. We who know too many will die if a deadly mutating virus is treated like a political football are more hopeful this morning that we can reduce the loss of life. We who know our nation must take a leadership role if we are to do what we can to lessen the impacts of climate change on our world are breathing a little bit more today. And we who tear up to hear a national leader talk about science are slowing the pace of our racing hearts. We who know the racial and economic inequalities of our nation require insight, not inciting, slept a little better perhaps last night. So let us also in this moment remember what we have learned, that holding paradox is the joy and the possibility and the sorrow at the canyons of division which are now so clear among us as a nation, as neighbors, as family members, so we can hold the relief next to the recognition that we can and should take a break for our hearts and our spirits, and not too long of one, for we have much work to do. If we're bookending, as Reverend Rodney and I conceived these services, and if you consider my message last week as a continuation, if you consider my message this week as a continuation of last week's, I want to return to the words of Dr. Howard Thurman once more, Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, the spiritual muse of so many in the civil rights movement. His Jesus and the Dispossessed was great company when I inevitably woke at 2 or 3 in the morning in this endless week. He defined the dispossessed as those who see themselves as weak, composed to the strong and powerful people. He wrote this to the leaders of the struggles in his time who were among those designated in that weak role in society's hierarchy. Here are his words. It is clear then that for the weak, hatred seems to serve a creative purpose. It may be judged harshly by impersonal ethical standards, but as long as the weak see it as being intrinsically involved in the complicated technique of survival with dignity, it cannot easily be dislodged, despite all the positive psychological attributes of hatred that we have outlined. Hatred destroys finally the life of the hater. And while it lasts, burning in white heat, he says, its effect seems positive and dynamic. But at last, it turns to ash, for it guarantees a final isolation from one's others. Hatred bears deadly and bitter fruit. It is non-discriminating. True, it begins by exercising specific discrimination. This it does by centering upon the persons responsible for the situations which create the reactions of resentment, bitterness, and hatred. But once that hatred is released, it cannot be confined to the offenders alone. It is difficult for hatred to be informed as to objects once it gets underway. Hatred, Reverend Dr. Thurman reminds us, cannot be confined to offenders alone. And this is the great danger that remains among us following 5 years of sanctioned hate. Because we live in the age of both and not either or, we cannot deny the other great truth of this week, that our nation is divided as a nation can be. To indulge in the bulliness now will only create more work for ourselves in the future, and that is our great spiritual challenge in these times. And it occurred to me in the early hour of some day or another this week that what we have also learned is that many of us, perhaps even most of us, now feel dispossessed on either side of this divide. Most of us, I suspect, feel dispossessed, feel like we're in that weak position that Dr. Thurman talked about. And how we respond now will be seen by those who wake up feeling even more so this morning. Having just survived 5 years of watching the ugliest faces of retribution, let us remember what it felt like to be the victim of that hate and vow not to carry that forward. And let us remember that some among us don't feel that strong in this moment, still feel very vulnerable. Let us also allow them, as they need to, express that vulnerability. We want, ultimately, our sheltering walls to let love in and keep hate out. In this time of complicated truth, let me say to the people still feeling most vulnerable, newly dispossessed by changes in the courts, knowing that the expressed feelings of too many neighbors are now very apparent, wondering how anyone could use their lives and well-being for political gains in the ways that they have done, knowing who will redraw the maps for future elections. Please know this morning that we see you, that we witness you, that we will continue to journey with you. Maybe after resting for a little while and putting up the feet for a few hours in this frantic world. I want to lift up today the work of the election defenders, an amazing coalition of those with much to lose, including people of color and poor people, who organized much of the Count Every Vote actions that took place around the nation this week. They also organized something else, what they call Joy to the Streets. And this was an alternative to the vindictive demonstrations that some said would happen this week. They instead invited people to bring their music and their dancing to the streets in these days. I personally, in the next few days, plan to do some dancing, though I'm tired enough it might just have to be some chair dancing, I have to say. But what would it be like? What would it be like, they invite us to think, if we were to take that sense of victory that we have, maybe some of us, and turn it not into I told you so's, but rather into I love you so's, to the people we most want to know that they are nothing less than beautiful to us. We have learned in these hard years that we can be both grateful and giving, released and committed, ecstatic and realistic, dance happy and downhearted, that nearly half our nation thinks that defending their self-interests means sacrificing the safety of their neighbors. And yes, to augment a post that I saw on Facebook in the wee hours of this morning today, we can be the people who challenge ourselves to look at the possibility of redemption that exists within each life, and which gives each being inherent worth and dignity despite their ugly, hate-spewing, despicable, and humanity-denying actions, which we condemn fully through our values. We can be the people that believe in interdependence, which means that we can give up the temporary high with a hangover of revenge for the deep, abiding recognition that we do need one another, all of us, bound together, as frightening as that may be, or as improbable as it may seem in this moment today. So besides dancing, what are we supposed to do? Besides resting, what are we committing? What if we keep gathering as we can? Keep teaching our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren what the world is supposed to look like, what it might look like, what we have glimpsed little fractions of it looking like in our times. What if we keep paying attention to those who are still the target of hate, those still at risk for their lives, still jailed and caged, still impugned and reviled and targeted? What if we keep listening to those who are wise with firsthand knowledge of the risks and rewards before us? What if we keep listening to one another and we hear one another's truths and we hear and speak to each other about what we need to say? What if we keep showing up, keep offering what we can, keep being of service to the greater cause of humanity? What if we keep celebrating these small victories and moments, and we keep rolling up our sleeves? What if we keep remembering that we are indeed solid as a rock, rooted as a tree, and here, each one of us, no matter who we are, in our rightful place, as part of the whole, messy, infuriating, inspiring, complicated, and challenging family of humanity. We shall be known by the company we keep. In this great turning, may we learn to lead in love. Can I get an amen? Amen. Blessed be.
We invite you now to join in singing our closing song, There Is More Love. Number 95 in the Gray Book, if you have that. The words will be on your screen. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
As the flame of our communal chalice is extinguished, let us take these words from one of our sources, the Christian scriptures, into our own hearts so that it may kindle in us the flame of Unitarian Universalism until we meet again. May love be the rich soil where we and our lives take root. May it be the bedrock where our lives are founded so that together with all the people, we may have the power to understand that holy love is indefinitely long, wide, high, and deep, surpassing everything anyone previously experienced. May this fullness flood through our being.